Good afternoon, everyone. The topic for discussion today will be the classification and description of the vowels in English. As we have already learned that English RP has 44 phonemes. Phonemes refer to the minimal, distinctive, indivisible unit of any language. So, in case of English RP, receipt pronunciation, we have got 44 phonemes. Of these 44 phonemes, 20 phonemes are labeled as vowels. These vowels are produced with the help of the respiratory system, the phonatory system, and the articulatory system. All these three systems are involved in the production of any vowel sounds. And therefore, we have all the vowel sounds being produced in English RP with the help of the respiratory air. That means the pulmonic egressive air stream is used for the production of all the vowel sounds. These vowels are produced through a modification of the air stream by the articulators that are present in the oral cavity. The air stream that is released by the pair of lungs with the help of the muscles of the chest and passes through the bronchioles finally reaches the phonatory system. This phonatory system consists of a pair of vocal cords, and the opening between the vocal cords is called the glottis. In case of the production of vowels, the glottis is open. That means the vocal cords are wide apart, but we have a narrowing down of this gap. Okay, so the vocal cords are loosely held together as the air is passing through the vocal cords. As the vocal cords are loosely held together, there is a narrowing of the gap between the vocal cords. Air passing through the vocal cord produces a buzzing sound. Therefore, all the vowels in English RP are voiced sounds. Once the vocal cords allow this passage of air, the air reaches the oral cavity. In the production of vowel sounds, the soft palate is raised, thereby blocking the nasal passage. And all the vowels are produced when the air stream passes through the open approximation of the articulators present in the articulatory system. That means in the mouth, in the oral cavity. And thus the air that is passing through the oral cavity is further modified by the articulators. All the vowels in English RP are therefore called oral sounds. So these are the basic points that we must remember while describing the vowels. Now let us see the diagram, and through this diagram we can understand the production of the vowel sound. So point number 1 we must remember is that vowels are produced with the help of the pulmonic egressive air stream. That means the air that is there in the lungs, a pair of lungs, is pushed out, released, and through this expiration of the air, the pulmonic egressive air stream is created, and this pulmonic egressive air stream reaches the phonatory system. This phonatory system consists of a pair of vocal cords. There is a narrowing down of the vocal cords, and through this gap in between the vocal cords that are loosely held together, the air passes, producing a buzzing sound. So all vocal cords, all the vowels are produced with the help of the vocal cords loosely held together, producing a buzzing sound. So all vowels, number 1, can be regarded as produced by pulmonic egressive air stream. Point number 2, all vowels are voiced sounds. That means there will be always a kind of buzzing sound produced when the air is passing through the gap between the vocal cords. Point number 3, all the vowels are oral sounds. Because as you see in the diagram, the soft palate is raised, and once the soft palate is raised, it blocks the nasal cavity. So air cannot pass through the nasal cavity. Therefore, the air that has passed through the vocal cords reaches the oral cavity. Inside the oral cavity, we have got articulators. The articulators that actively take part in the production of vowel sounds, such articulators are called active articulators. And the articulator that remains passive throughout is called the passive articulator. In case of the production of vowel sounds, there is open approximation. This is point number 4. So all the vowels are oral sounds produced with the help of open approximation. So point number 4 is that vowels are produced with open approximation, as the active articulator and passive articulator do not touch. There is a gap in between the active and passive articulators. The air thus passes through the gap between the active and passive articulator and get released to the mouth or oral cavity. Point number 5, in case of vowels, we find that further modification is done by the lips, by the pair of lips, and this determines whether the vowel sound is rounded or unrounded. With the rounding of our lips, we produce rounded vowels. When the lips are unrounded or neutral or stretched, the vowels are produced, and such vowels are called unrounded vowels. Let us summarize what we have learned. Point number 1, all vowels are produced with the help of pulmonic egressive airstream. Point number 2, all vowels are voiced phonemes. Point number 3, all vowels are oral sounds. Point number 4, vowels are produced with open approximation. Point number 5, vowels are classified either as rounded or unrounded. So these are the 5 basic points that we must remember in the description of vowel sounds. Now let us go into the details of these. The process of production. As I said that the pulmonic egressive airstream is modified further by the vocal cords. Vocal cords are there in the phonatory system, and this phonatory system is also called the larynx or Adam's apple, that contains this pair of vocal cords. These are filament-like structures that can be held loosely together or can be wide apart. When there is a wide gap between the vocal cords, voiceless sounds are produced. But in case of vowels, these vocal cords are loosely held together, and therefore there is a gap that is narrowed down by the proximity of the vocal cords. The air thus passing through the larynx is accompanied by a buzzing sound, and therefore all vowel sounds are called voiced phonemes. In the manner of articulation of vowels, we must take into account the articulatory system. All vowel sounds that are there in any language can be regarded as pure sounds. Okay, because there is little effort in the production of vowel sounds. Vowels are also called cardinal sounds. Okay, core sounds. Without vowel, no language is possible. We can have different types of consonants, but these consonants contribute to the variety in speech. But at the core of linguistic expression, we have the basic unit called vowel that remain as core or cardinal sounds. So these cardinal sounds are produced with the help of articulators that are present in the oral cavity. Because the soft palate is raised and the air has to freely escape through the oral cavity. As the air escapes freely through the oral cavity, there is a wide gap between the articulators. All the vowels are produced with the help of open approximation. In case of consonantal sounds, we have the stricture of close approximation. In some cases, there is a joining of the articulators. In some cases, there is a blocking of the air stream and sudden release. So there are different strictures in case of consonants. In case of vowels, we have basic stricture that is called open approximation. That means the articulator are not joined together. They come close, they may come close, but they are never in contact with each other. And there is gap, wide gap in between the active articulator and the passive articulator. Vowels are further classified according to the place of articulation. By place of articulation, I refer to the involvement of the active articulator as well as passive articulator. So in this diagram, you can see that the tongue that is acting as the active articulator in case of vowel has three component parts. First, we can say the front of the tongue. Second, we can say the center of the tongue. Third, we can say the back of the tongue. So active articulator is produced with the help of active articulators contribute to the production of vowel sounds, and active articulator that is involved in the production of distinctive vowel sound can be classified, separated into three parts. So the front of the tongue is the articulator that is used to produce front vowels. The center of the tongue, working as active articulator, produces central vowels. Similarly, the back of the tongue that is producing vowels are called back vowels. In the roof of the mouth, you can also see three sections. While in our study of consonant, we included the lips, okay, the upper teeth and the lower teeth. But in case of the production of vowel, the place of articulation is denoted by the roof of the mouth that consists of three parts, three basic parts. So first is the front of the roof of the mouth. Second is the center of the roof of the mouth. And third is the back of the roof of the mouth. So in the active articulator, we have the front of the tongue, the center of the tongue, the back of the tongue. Similarly, in the passive articulator, we have the front of the roof of the mouth, the center of the roof of the mouth, and the back of the roof of the mouth. So we have classified vowels into three basic categories. Okay, the front vowels, the central vowels, and the back vowels. But we must here remember that this classification is based on our analysis of monophthongs. So English RP has 20 vowels. These 20 vowels are further classified into two types. One, monophthongs, number two, diphthongs. In case of monophthongs, the articulator, the tongue that is acting as the active articulator, takes one definite position. Okay, either the front of the tongue or the center of the tongue or the back of the tongue is involved in the articulation of monophthong and can be classified into three types: front vowel, central vowel, and back vowel. Similarly, we can also classify the roof of the mouth as distinctive, working as passive articulator, separated into three parts. One is the active front, passive front part of the roof of the mouth, coming close to the active front of the tongue. Second is the center of the roof of mouth, acting as the passive articulator, corresponding to the center of the tongue, acting as active articulator. And third is the back of the roof of the tongue, functioning as passive articulator, and the back of the tongue acting as active articulator. So in English RP, the first basic classification is that of monophthongs. Monophthong, mono means single, tongue refers to thong. So monophthong, that means the active articulator is well defined, takes only one position, and because of that we can classify the monophthongs into three types. In English RP we have got 12 monophthongs, and of these 12 monophthongs we have front vowels, central vowels, and back vowels. So these 12 monophthongs can be classified into three types according to the articulators involved, and these three types are front vowels, central vowels, and back vowels. These monophthongs, according to the duration of the sound, has also been classified into two types. I repeat, according to the duration of the sound, the length of the sound, these monophthongs are further classified into two types. One is called the short vowel, the second is called the long vowel. In English RP, we have got 7 short vowels, while there are 5 long vowels in English RP. So when we talk about these vowel sounds in their short or longer version, we must remember that all these 12 vowel sounds are essentially monophthongs. So we must remember this. So apart from monophthongs, there are also 8 diphthongs. So first we deal with monophthongs. In case of short monophthongs, the active articulator, either the front of the tongue or the center of the tongue or the back of the tongue, moves towards either the front of the roof of the mouth or the center of the roof of the mouth or the back of the roof of the mouth, respectively, in order to produce distinctive monophthongs. Through the gap that is wide in between the articulators, the air passes, and through this passage of air, a modification is done by the articulator. In English RP, we have got 7 short vowels. These short vowels are the following. First sound, E, as in the word ink, 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 the initial sound of the word ink. The second sound is A, in word like end, the initial vowel of the word end. Third sound is A, in word like and. Fourth short vowel is A, as in the word up. Number 5 is A, in word like about. Sixth short vowel is O, as in word like ox. Then we have the seventh short vowel, U, as in pull. So let me again repeat the short vowels: E, A, O, U. I repeat: E, A, O, U. There are 5 long vowels. Long vowels are represented through a symbol along with a diacritical mark of colon, suggesting that the vowel takes more time duration for the articulation. These are long pure vowels. In English RP, we have got 5 long pure vowels. These long pure vowels are: number 1, E, as in eel. Number 2, as in earl. Number 3, as in arms. Number 4, aw, as in the word aw. Fifth, oo, as in the word ooze. So I repeat the longer vowels: e, a, o, oo. So the basic difference between the long vowel and the short vowel is that of duration. While the short vowels, 7 in number in English RP, take shorter period of time for articulation, the longer vowels take more time for articulation. The articulators that are involved are classified into front, central, and back. So let us see how this articulatory process involves the articulators. The active articulator is further raised towards the passive articulator to a certain position. So according to this position, the articulator is raised. We can further classify the vowels into different types. When the active articulator, the tongue, is at rest and there is a wide gap in between the articulators, the air can easily pass through the gap. The gap is wider. The opening between the articulator is much wider or the widest. We call that as open position. When the articulator, the active articulator, moves closer to the passive articulator, as you can see in this diagram, so it takes a close position. Okay, there is a gap is wide because the articulator is not touching the passive articulator. There is a gap between the articulators, but the active articulators comes very close to the passive articulator, even in this open approximation. So that position, when the tongue is at this position, quite raised towards the passive articulator, we have closed position. So if you see this diagram, you can see this diagram. Here we have the 3 positions that have been derived from this diagram. Okay, from this diagram, this chart has been drawn. Okay, just superimpose both the diagrams and you can see that this chart is derived from the same diagram of the articulators. So at the base we have the tongue as active articulator, and on the top we have the roof of the mouth working as passive articulator. Therefore, this tongue that is there at the bottom can move towards the passive articulator. When the front of the tongue is moving towards the front of the roof of the mouth, we have front vowels. When the center of the tongue moves towards the center of the roof of the mouth, we have central vowels. When the back of the tongue moves towards the back of the vowel, back of the roof of the mouth, we have got back vowels. Okay, this diagram is therefore a representation of this diagram. Okay, a graphic representation of this diagram. So when the active articulator, the tongue in this diagram has reached quite close, so we have this position. When the front of the articulator is used, we have front vowel, center is used, central vowel and back vowel. Similarly, if the tongue comes to a position like this, okay, so we have the open approximation and there is a wide gap between the articulators. So the production of the sound can be much easier. So we have open position in that case. So in these two diagrams that you can see, let us focus on this particular diagram where we have a graphic representation, a diagrammatic representation of different positions that the active articulators can take and the particular place of articulation where that particular vowel is produced. First, let us take into account the corner points of this line, of this diagram. So, corner points. So, in this diagram, we have 8 corner points. Number 1, okay, you can see E point. Number 2, A point. Number 2, A point. And number 4, R point. So, 4 intersecting points. Here also we have similar 4 points. One is R point, one is O point, one is O point, one is U point. These are the 8 points. These 8 points are called cardinal points in the production of vowel. But in the lab we have seen that these cardinal points allow us to make the distinctive vowel sounds. Okay, this helps us to understand which is the distinctive nature of the vowel sound. But in English RP, we have different positions where the exact vowels are produced. That means where the tongue is reaching. Say if the tongue, the front of the tongue is reaching to this position, okay, towards the front of the roof of the mouth, and the air is passing through the gap. So this point is diagrammatically represented as the position of E. Similarly, there are different sound points in English RP. So it is better to understand this diagram first for the classification. So this diagram has been drawn in that way to represent where the vowel sound is produced. So vowel sounds can be produced according to this position of the active articulator. When the active articulator is at rest, we have open position. When the articulator is just above the open position, we call that as above open. Similarly, when the active articulator is to the highest position, we call that as closed position. When that active articulator is lowered down, we have half closed position. And there is the fifth position called in between half closed and half open. So let us recall 5 positions where we can see the active articulator. Number 1, open. Number 2, above open. Number 3, between half open and half close. Number 4, below close or half close. And number 5, close. If we come from the top to bottom, so we can say close position, half close position, between half close and half open, half open, and finally open. So these are the 5 distinctive positions that are involved in the production of pure vowels. I repeat, in English RP, there are 12 pure vowels. These 12 pure vowels are further classified into vowels and long vowels. And all these vowels are produced when the articulator, the tongue, takes a definite position. These vowels are classified into front vowel, central vowel, and back vowel according to the place of articulation. According to the height of the active articulator, the vowels are further classified as open vowels, half open vowels, between half close and half open vowels, half closed vowels, and closed vowels. So this is a graphic description of the production of the vowel sounds that uses the articulators, active and passive articulators, into account for the production of the sounds. In English RP, these monophthongs involve particular place and position. When we talk about place of articulation of vowel, we refer to the front, central and back. When we refer to the position, the height of the active articulator, we have 5 positions: open position, half open position, between half open and half closed position, half closed position, and finally closed position, that we can see in this diagram. So at the bottom we have the open position. Next we have half open position. Then we have between half open and half closed position. Then this line refers to the half closed position. And finally this line refers to the closed position. So let us recall, according to the place of articulation, we have front vowels, central vowels and back vowels. According to the position of the articulator, active articulator, we have got this as closed vowel, this as half closed vowel, in between half closed and half open vowels, half open vowels, and finally open vowels. So these 12 vowel sounds in English RP can be classified thus. Now I shall be showing you the list of the vowels so that you can have a fair idea about these vowels and how these vowels are produced. I said that in the classification or description of vowel, we must always first identify the phoneme. That means the symbol representing that particular vowel sound. Then we must know about the type of the vowel. In this type of the vowel, we can have so many different aspects, especially the place of articulation and the position of the articulator. So you can see this diagram where we have a chart of the vowels. First, we will take the short, pure front vowels. So although there are 4 front vowels, of these 4 front vowels, 3 are short vowels. So let us be familiarized with the phonemes, the symbols. Look at this diagram. So first one, the symbol sound is E, as in ink. This is the phonemic transcription. E, N, K. 3 sounds are there: vowel, consonant, consonant. The first vowel, the only vowel, is A in the word ink. The second one, the sound is A. A is a short, pure front vowel, as in word end. A, N, D. Initial phoneme is A. Third short vowel is A. It is a short, pure front vowel, as in word and, that is produced of 3 sounds: A, N, D, in the strong form. Fourth vowel sound, A, short, pure central vowel, as in word up. A, P. The initial vowel sound of this word up, A. Fifth sound is A. A. In Hindi often we say A, Ka, Kha. So that sound A. Okay, that is the difference. This is A, short, pure central vowel in word like about, A, b, ow, t. The initial vowel sound of this word, a. Next sound is o. O. O is again a short, pure back vowel in word like ox. O, k, s. Ox. Then we have u. Short, pure back vowel as in word pull. So these are the 7 short vowels. Let us repeat the sounds. Listen carefully and if possible repeat with me. E, A, A, O, U. I repeat. E, A, O, U. In the written form of English language, we have just 5 vowels: A, E, I, O, U. But in the phonetary system, in the sound system, we have altogether 20 vowel sounds. So distinctions are done on the basis of the articulators, their place of articulation, the articulators involved, and the position the active articulator is raised to. So we have 7 short vowels. Similarly, there are 5 long vowels. These long vowels are also pure vowels. First one, E, is a long, pure, front centralized vowel, as in word like eel, transcribed as a combination of 2 phonemes, E, L. The second long vowel is a long, pure central vowel, as in word like earl, having 2 sounds, 2 phonemes, and L. Third long vowel is defined as long, pure back vowel, as in word like arms, that is produced with the help of 3 phonemes, a, m, z. So arms. Next long vowel is o. It's a long, pure, back centralized vowel, as in word o, having a single phoneme, o. Next long vowel is u. It is a long, pure back vowel, as in word like ooze, produced with 2 phonemes, oo, z. So these are the 5 long vowels in English RP. So let us summarize what we have learnt about these short and long vowels. First, we call these as monophthongs. Second, we call these as pure vowels. Third, we call these as, these are all oral sounds, we call these as monophthongs, because the tongue will be taking one position. Active articulator will be well defined, will move towards a passive articulator. There will be a gap in between the active articulator and the passive articulator. The articulators will come close but never touch. According to the articulator and the place, we can classify the vowels into front vowel, central vowel, and back vowel. According to the position, the active articulator moves towards the passive articulator, and according to the position it takes, we can further classify vowels into 5 types: open vowels, half open vowels, between half open and half closed vowels, half closed vowels, and closed vowels. Apart from these monophthongs, in English RP, we also have diphthongs. Diphthongs are different from monophthongs because here we have a glide of the tongue. All the diphthongs are vowels, but in the production of diphthongs, we will see a glide of the tongue, the active articulator, from one position to another position. Okay, from one place to another place. There will be a dip of the tongue, a glide of the tongue, a movement of the tongue to produce diphthong. There is also a possibility of producing triphthongs, where we have the glide of the tongue from one position to another position to another position. But in English RP, we do not have examples of triphthongs. But in English RP, we also have diphthongs, although we do not have triphthongs. So diphthongs are defined as vowels that are produced with the glide of the tongue. The tongue takes the position and place of the initial symbol, initial phoneme, but then gradually dips to the final position of this final phoneme. So we can see that the symbolic representation of a diphthong contains two symbols. The first symbol represents the initial position the tongue has taken. The second refers to the final position the tongue has taken. That means this A sound, A, E, if you articulate the sound, you will find that it has changed its position. And through this glide of the tongue, the movement of the tongue, the air is modified to produce sounds like A, I, Oi, Ow, Ow, ear, ear, ua. I repeat the sounds. Repeat the sounds with me. A, as in aim, aim, aim. I, as in eyes, the eyes. Oi, oi, as in oyster, oyster. The sounds are oi, sa, ta, a. The initial sound is a diphthong. Oyster. Ow, ow, as in oath, as in oath. Two sounds are there, ow and th, out, out, out. Then we have ow, again a diphthong, ow, in word like ouch, ouch. A combination of two phonemes, ow, cha, ow, cha, ouch. Next diphthong is air, air, as in word like air, air. It's a monophonemic word. Single diphthong produces this word, air, air. Then we have ear. Ear is a diphthong, as in word like ear, ear, having a single phoneme, a diphthong, ear, ear. Then we have ua, 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 as in word like rua, ru, ra, ru, ral. So we have r, u, r, a, l. So the second phoneme in this word after r, u, r, a, l. This u is a diphthong. U is a diphthong. So u, rural, rural, r, u, r, a, l. These are the diphthongs. Please repeat the diphthong sounds with me so that we can find the distinction that is there in the sounds. And let us observe how the airstream is modified with the help of our tongue. A, I, oi, au, au, ear, ear, ua. I repeat, a, oi, au, au, ear, ear, ua. Please repeat the sounds. A, I, oi, au, au, ear, ear, ua. So in this case, we have observed that the tongue is first taking an initial position and then gliding towards a final position as the ear is getting modified by the movement of the tongue, by the movement of the active articulator. So it moves from the position of A to I to produce A, A to E to produce I, O to E to produce Oi, A to U to produce Au, A to U to produce Au, A to A to produce air, E to A to produce ear, U to A to produce ua. Therefore, we have A, I, Oi, Au, Au, ear, ear, ua. 8 diphthongs in English RP. These diphthongs are produced with the articulators, and according to the location of the articulator, the place and the position of articulator from the initial to the final position, we have the distinctive sound of diphthong. So here we have basically two positions of the tongue to produce the vowels called diphthongs. You must have observed while producing these sounds that the lips take different positions in the articulation of the sounds. Let us see what type of position is taken by the lips in sound like E, neutral, A, stressed, A, further stressed, A, stressed, A, stressed, O. Now we see that there is a rounding of the lips. O, ox. So O is a round vowel. U, pull. So U is a rounded vowel. So the short vowels, 7 in number, 5 unrounded, 2 rounded, O and U. These are rounded. That means the lips are rounded when the air is released. The pulmonic egressive airstream is released and the lips remain rounded. So O and U, these are called rounded vowels. In the list of long vowels also, we have rounded and unrounded. Let us see which are rounded, which are unrounded. First long vowel E, lips remain neutral. Lips remain neutral. Lips remain stretched neutral. O, the lips are rounded. U, the lips are rounded. So of these 12 pure vowels, we have 4 rounded vowels. These 4 rounded vowels are O, U, O, U. So apart from these 4 rounded vowels, all the short pure vowels are unrounded vowels. In case of diphthongs, we can define this rounding of the lips according to the initial and the final position. See, in the initial position, we have the rounding of the lips in 2 cases, O, E, Oi, O, E. So in the initial position, there is this rounding O. Similarly, in this Ua, Oi and Ua, in the initial position. In the final position, we have got rounding in sounds like Ow, 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 Ow. Other than these, in most of these diphthongs, the lips remain neutral. In case of A, lips remain neutral. I, lips remain neutral. Ear, lips remain neutral. Ear, lips remain neutral. So in the 4 diphthongs, lips remain neutral. In case of 2 diphthongs, the initial air released is rounded by the lips, as in Oi and Ua. In the final position, we find the rounding of the lips in Au and Au. So keeping in mind this classification, let us now conclude and try to remember what we have learned today. So first of all the vowels are produced with the help of pulmonic egressive air stream. Number 2, in the production of all the vowel sounds, we find that the vocal cords in the production of the vowel sounds remain loosely held together, and there is a gap in between the vocal cords that is narrowed down. The air passing through the vocal cords produces a buzzing sound. Therefore, all vowels are voiced vowels. In the production of the vowel sounds, we have the raising of the soft palate to block the nasal passage. All the vowels are therefore oral sounds. These vowel sounds are classified according to the articulators involved and the position the articulators take in the production of distinctive sounds. So all these vowels are produced in the oral cavity by the oral articulators. The active articulator is the tongue, the passive articulator is the roof of the mouth. The active articulator has been classified into 3 sections: the front of the tongue, the center of the tongue, and the back of the tongue. Similarly, the passive articulator, the roof of the mouth, has been classified into 3 parts: the front of the roof of the mouth corresponding to the hard palate, the central of the roof of the mouth in between the position of the hard palate and the soft palate, and the back of the roof of the mouth or the soft palate. The vowels are classified according to the place of the articulators, the front, the center, or the back, and according to the position to which the active articulator is raised. There is an open approximation between the articulators. When there is this wide gap, the opening between the articulators more, we have the open position. Then we have half open position. When it is further raised towards the passive articulators, we have between half closed and half open position. Then we have half closed position, and when this active articulator comes closer to the passive articulator, it is called the closed position. When the pulmonic egressive air stream is getting released, it is further modified by the lips. The pairs of lip take two basic positions. These positions are called the rounding of the lips, that classify the vowels as rounded vowels, or the lips remain neutral or stretched, and the vowels are thus produced called unrounded vowels. All these monophthongs, 12 in number, are further classified into short vowels and long vowels. There are 7 short vowels in English RP and 5 long vowels. Apart from these 12 monophthongs, we also have 8 diphthongs. Diphthongs are also vowels, and these vowels are produced with the glide of the tongue. That means the tongue takes a particular position, involves particular place of articulation or the articulator, and then glides towards the position of another phoneme or another place of articulation. And as the tongue is taking a glide, or the tongue is reshaping itself, moving itself, the air is modified to produce diphthongs. In these 8 diphthongs, we have 4 diphthongs produced when the lips remain neutral throughout. 4 other diphthongs start with the rounding of the lips, 2 of them, and 2 of them end with the rounding of the lips. So this is the basic classification and description of the vowels. So in the description of the vowels, we must note all these important points, like we did in case of consonants. So these points are very important in the description of vowel sounds. Thank you very much for your attention. So if you have any questions, you can ask. I can respond to those questions. Any kind of clarification you require, you can ask.